I thought the government was the IRS and the Division of Motor Vehicles, and it has all this help for anybody of any age that people don't know about. So I wanted to help the average person. And, charging thousands of dollars, I could do all the research myself. But when you charge for a $20, $30 book, you can't charge $20, $30 to do research for people. Yeah. So I do books and sold them. And then that's when I got on those TV shows. I found out that TV, at least in America at the time, it wasn't about what information it had. It was how you said it. They had to
Right.
fill airtime. And so if you were, it was entertainment. So
Right.
when I taught computer science, I found that out, that you can't teach people anything unless you keep them awake first. So if they're not awake, you can't teach anything.
Right.
Yeah. So
So you have to
I
be
would,
interesting.
yes, exactly.
Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people watching us from around the world, Canada, they say, yeah, we know where Canada is. British Columbia on the west coast, right? Right. And then Prince George. And then, you got that big city there called Vancouver. And then Prince George is 500 miles north of Vancouver, or for our European friends, 800 kilometers. And it is a beautiful area. We have a city of about 82,000 people. We have lots of forest all around us. Probably in 50 miles, we have 100 lakes, lots of timber, and lots of other friends, black bears, grizzly bears, caribou, deer, wolves, and foxes, and you name it. We got them all here, and we call it paradise. And so today we got a very interesting guest on our podcast. His name is Matthew Lesco, and Matthew is an energetic, passionate advocate with 50 years of experience helping Americans access billions in government funding. I like that part. And so, known for his colorful status, infectious enthusiasm, that has made his mission to reveal hidden pathways to financial support for everyday people. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for the nice introduction. Did we pay you enough for that or what?
Yes. Hey, what is money? Eh? So, Matthew,
Right.
tell us a bit about you in your past. You are 50 years, you say, experience. My goodness, you must have started when you were 10.
No, I'm 81 now.
Oh my God.
So I've been doing this for 50 years. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I haven't worked in 50 years in my mind.
Oh, you're enjoying it.
And I figure I got maybe 10, 12 more yet. And every
Okay.
day I just can't wait to get up and do this. It seems to be needed. And, to me, that's what we're here. We want to feel wanted, needed. That's something we have can help somebody else. And giving, the older I get, the more I see that the success in life is giving, not getting. I mean, once you feed yourself anyway, you got to figure that out first. But giving to me is like the most selfish thing in the world to do.
Exactly. I
And it
like
feels
it.
so good. And,
Yeah.
and
So,
people want to like not work much, not worry about how much they love. It's too much, or no, work and love are the same thing to me. Or actually, we have skills. So you have your heart you give to a partner or other people, and you don't want to do that a little. I feel you want to do that a lot. And so,
exactly.
if you have skills that are needed and you can contribute to society, then you want to do that a lot. And everybody seems to want to have a job that is easy. And to me, it's sort of like playing basketball against a 5-year-old. So you're going to win, but that doesn't feel like you're going to grow.
Exactly.
And you're going to grow if you work hard.
So where are you located, Matthew?
I'm in Washington, D.C., in the circus
What?
town.
Oh, I see. Washington, D.C., of all places. Whoa. I heard they're going to change the name to Trumpfield, but I'm not sure about that.
Right.
May have been a rumor.
Probably. Soon as we
So,
get rid of the border of Canada.
yeah. So,
And we took over the Bay of Mexico or whatever.
yeah, and he wants to
Yeah,
take over Canada. My goodness,
right.
and Greenland, and then oh my God. So and then the vice president's name is Elon Musk. My
Right. He's
understanding.
not the vice president. He acts like the president, though.
Yeah, well,
He's
he's the president
yeah,
in waiting.
right.
Unfortunately, he was not born there, so that doesn't work for him.
No,
But then again,
he's African American.
yeah, but then Trump can change anything, right? So then he probably
Right,
will run
exactly.
another term for
All right.
one, and then by the time he is, I think he's a young fella compared to you.
Who?
He
Yeah,
just
yeah,
turned 78, and
right.
you
But
know,
he wasn't born. Trump. Yeah, he's in close to 80. Maybe I thought he was about a year or two younger than me.
yeah,
But Trump, I mean, Musk is younger. He must be in his 50s or
yeah,
something.
that's what I think too.
Yeah,
He's maybe
yeah.
40 some
But
odd.
he wasn't born in the U.S., so he can't be president.
Well, Trump may change that, right? So the
That's true, right? Who am I
yeah,
to say?
he's going to add another term for
Right,
himself, and then he will
right,
change whatever he wants to change. Anyway, that
right.
being said, age is just a number, and
Yeah.
the other part is you're also an author, and you've written about 10 books or so.
Yeah, no, actually, about 100, about 10 made money.
Oh, so you love to write, do you?
Well, no, they're directories. I flunked English in college, and that's why when my first book made the New York Times bestseller list, I tried to call my English teacher who flunked me in college
And
to
say,
let
hey, George, I'm going to tell you something. Blah, blah,
her.
blah. And you too, so
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
uh, uh, I'm not quite there. I'm working on my fifth and sixth book.
Oh,
My fourth book was one that you may like. Is this one, Living Young, Dying
oh,
Old, and
wow.
that's a picture of me actually.
Yeah,
I'm the
great.
oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America.
Really?
Yeah.
Wonderful. No, I go to the gym every day, and I
Uh,
see these young guys. I've never been a gym rat, but now I am.
yeah,
No, that's
yeah, to me that's very important. And so I'm
yeah.
84 and a half years old. I turn
Oh, really?
85 in
Oh,
November the
wonderful.
1st. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, wonderful.
So I call it 84 and a half years young.
Right. Yeah, well, you so no, I mean, I was a fat kid, short, fat kid, so I fight weight every day of my life. And I did it by running. After I got out of the military, I started running, and that kept it off. And I ran for about 40 years or more. But then I couldn't run anymore. I was falling. My bones and muscles were okay, but I was tripping and I feel my mind isn't working fast enough. When you're
Right.
traveling fast, you can't recover, and it's easier to fall down. So 3 days in a row, I had a bloody nose,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
said, "That's enough of that." So I go to the gym and do the machine stuff.
And
Yeah,
that's a good thing. I do the
yeah.
same. I'm competing. I started quite late, and so when I was 58, I had a case of diverticulitis that
Ooh,
ruptured, that nearly killed me. Came that close.
wow,
The doc said to me the
wow,
following morning, he said, "You came this close." And then my
wow.
wife is a vegetarian, and and I didn't listen quite as well to her as I could have, should have. And then I was also one of those guys. Yeah, I would go to the every at the end of the year. We all make those commitments. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, and then I'm going to buy a membership to the gym. And then 2 weeks later, we can find 100 reasons why we're too busy to go to the gym. And I knew I had to change that part, and so I hired a trainer, and that was
Oh,
the in 2009 I started, and after about 5-6 years, somebody said, "Hey, John, have you ever thought about competing?" I said, "Me?
Really?
Really? Yeah." And so I
Wow.
started to train even harder and then started competing in northern British Columbia,
Yeah.
already in my early 70s, and came in
Wow.
second in bodybuilding, third in physique. That qualified me for the provincials, the same. That
Yeah.
qualified me for the nationals and the Arnolds. And
Wow.
then what happened is COVID came, and so for a year and a half, 2 years, I was not competing, but I was still going to the gym as much as I
Right.
could on my own because you couldn't go to the gym; it was closed. And then today, I'm again getting ready for competing
Oh,
again to go to the
really?
Arnolds next year when I'm 85 years old.
Wow. Good for you. Well, that's wonderful. No, I'm a skinny, flabby guy. Uh, but admire that. Don't have the discipline, I guess, to build that. And also flexibility is important to me. And uh, I like being thin. I could do more. It
Right.
seems the thinner I'm carrying an extra baggage of 10, 12. I used to be 30 pounds heavier, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You're just carrying that stuff around. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
So what I'm saying,
Um,
age is just a number. It's quality of
yeah,
life that is the critical
absolutely.
part, and that is,
Yeah.
and I follow a number of things. Get lots of vitamin D, either
Mm,
sunshine or in some form or another. Then get lots of sleep. For me, I usually sleep 8 to 9 hours a night. Then go to
mm,
the gym. I do that on a regular basis. Also include cardiovascular, and but also then do strength training, and I do that.
mm.
And then at the same time, diet is very, very critical as well.
Yeah.
And so
Um,
now my wife is a vegetarian. Usually, when I go to the store, I buy all the groceries, even for her.
mm,
And if I'm in the store,
uh,
I always go to the outside of the store because on the inside, where the aisles are, it's all processed food or super processed,
oh,
and
I
I
see.
don't know what
Right.
is in it. So I'm
Right.
very careful
Exactly.
about diet. So
Yeah. Well, that's very good.
yeah,
No, I guess if I have some, what the hell is, uh, yeah, I got a little bit of a hernia for the first time. This is old man talk here.
right, right,
And it's just very small, but oh, it surprised me. I never, and I feel that was some straining something in the weights, and I'm a little gun shy there for a while now.
yeah.
Uh, just trying to find exercises maybe that will help adjust to that. So I'm trying to stay a little away from weights and just the cardio,
Yeah,
which
and
is
that
more
and
important.
and that is good.
Yeah,
Cardio is good, and but the uh, adding some weight as much as you possibly can is also
yeah,
important because for stability. But in any event,
yeah.
people
No,
are more conscientious now of their
sure.
the weight
Definitely
and their in their
balance.
quality of life, right?
Yeah.
And especially
No,
when you get
definitely.
older, like you and me, balance is
Yeah.
very, very important, and
Oh,
staying active.
definitely. You know what? I just bought some shoes that are almost very flat. It's sort of like almost like toe shoes, but not. Maybe people use them more for the gym, and I find that boy gives me a little more. I used to wear big cushion because I used to run a lot,
Okay.
for the
Yeah, yeah.
shock and everything. But they were. I felt too tippy.
Right, right. Uh-huh.
And so closer to the ground, like bare feet, makes me feel a little more solid.
I like it.
But
So,
this is
so
what 80-year-olds talk about,
yeah, so
huh?
what I'm saying is that this is possible for anybody.
Oh,
Living
wonderful.
young, dying old. I want to be 120.
Where do you think you make it, huh? Well, I
I do,
just found
yeah.
out there's a government program that will not give you money the department SBA used to give money to somebody 120 years old, and they put a law that you can't be over 120 years old.
So they
So it's
shoot you
funny you
then, or what
mentioned that.
happens?
Or yeah, I think you go in the backyard and shoot you. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? So, say, Matthew, tell us all about what I like about it is that obviously you've been still very, very active in your life. You're doing a lot of podcasting and guesting a lot, and then doing some podcasting as well, as I understand it. You know, and then you've been interviewed by a number of celebrities like Oprah, Larry King, Good Morning America, blah blah blah, on and on and on and on. And so, and you've sold a lot of books, 4 million books, and so that was good. So tell
Yes.
us the secrets of a number of
Well,
things. Is that
uh,
the one how to access $1 billion?
right. Well, that's what I've been doing for 50 years, is showing people how to um, tap into the government programs that are there to do anything, start businesses or pay your bills or healthcare programs, anything you want. And I learned it I got an MBA in computers, and I had a computers company that failed. And then I started being a consultant to rich companies. And I was doing research for them for mergers and acquisitions, buying and selling companies.
Okay.
And I was in Washington, and this back in the 70s. Said there were no internet, so I would use the government libraries for research, and
Right.
I would find all these programs that these people would do. Like Procter and Gamble, I worked on getting them information to start a chain of pasta stores. Well, what I would do, I'd find a government office that studies pasta, and this bureaucrat who studied for the last 15, 20 years or whatever would tell me all these studies he would give me for free about where to start pasta stores, where the money is, and all this. Tell me about the government programs to do that. And so I take all this stuff and I take his name off it, put my name on it, and sell it to them for thousands of dollars. And what occurred to me, I didn't know anything about these programs. So where I grew up was a little coal mining town in Pennsylvania.
Right.
And I thought the government was the IRS and the Division of Motor Vehicles, and it has all this help for anybody of any age that people don't know about. So I wanted to help the average person, and charging thousands of dollars, I could do all the research myself. But when you charge for a $20-$30 book, you can't charge $20-$30 to do research for people. Yeah, so. I do books and sold them, and then that's when I got on those TV shows. I found out that TV, at least in America at the time, it wasn't about what information it had; it was how you said it. They had to
Right.
fill airtime, and so if you were, it was entertainment. So
Right.
when I taught computer science, I found that out, that you can't teach people anything unless you keep them awake first. So if they're not awake, you can't teach anything.
Right.
Yeah. So
So you have to
I
be
would,
interesting.
yes, exactly. And to me, it's energy and excitement. So I mean, when I do these shows, I mean, like Letterman would use me, like when somebody canceled. If somebody canceled, then they call me, man, you're going to give
Yeah,
me
call
7 minutes
Matthew.
of right. If you 7 minutes of free national airtime, I'm there, man, no matter what you
Yeah.
are. And that was fun. Larry King used me a lot that way. I think I did Oprah 3 times. And I try to give it good information because I believe in what I'm doing. I mean, that's the other thing. You can't be a snake oil salesman, Uh,
Exactly.
and, but the energy was really what it was all about, and that's what they wanted more than anything. It seemed to me was the energy and enthusiasm. My parents did not admit I was their kid for the first 10 years on TV because they wanted me, erudite and acting smart. Man, I get on there. You ask me a question. Well, I know, but did you know you could get a house for $1? And you know what? That you could, and I would just get to try to grab people because TV at the time to me was something people had online, and they were doing something else. Like the talk shows in the morning, you would put it on TV, you go in the bathroom and brush your teeth, and I'd say, I got to get you out of the bathroom. Because if they say, next is Matthew Lesko to talk about government programs, who cares? Nobody knew who I was or anything. So I figured, I got to get you out of the bathroom. So I imagine people coming out of the bathroom looking, what, brushing their teeth. What is that idiot talking about? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I thought, and it's all, yeah, it's how you do things, not what you're doing, unfortunately. And it's the same on the internet. It's clickbait, and how do you get people's attention? And then when I found dressing like this to help, at least at first it didn't. I was throwing off shows because I decided to wear question mark suits. And now you're a financial analyst, not dressed like a clown.
And I like that because it draws attention. I
Right.
like your
Exactly.
suit and what you're wearing. And so that alone draws attention. If you see
Yeah.
me at nearly 85, I'm in black all the way down, and I always dress the same. But
Right.
I could get some attention too because I can take this one off. I still got hair,
Oh, right.
and I can
Exactly.
take
No,
this one and put this one on. How do
right.
you like it so
Oh,
far?
no, I do.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Western Canada,
Okay, so you want me to
right?
keep it on then?
Yes, yes, that's cool.
I like it. So now
Yeah,
the other part that you're talking about, it's all about, correct me if I am wrong, communications.
absolutely. And
And,
community.
and
What I have now is, after I sold books, millions of them, I wanted to help people more one-on-one.
right,
Books didn't do it. They would buy the book and they would do nothing. Sort of like diet books or exercise books. People buy them, but they don't do anything, right? And we keep getting fatter. We sell more and more diet books, right?
right, right.
So I wanted to have something personal, and I just started a subscription basis just to get income. And then I found that people like helping people. So now we're up to about 15,000 people that are helping each other get this money. So they get it, then they teach other people. So like every day we have 3, 4, 5 hours of members who are on Zoom calls that you could talk to, ask questions about how to get the money. Actually, one today is even having a government official on, so you could ask them, how you get the money.
Is
So,
that a
and it's
bit
making.
of a platform then, Matthew, that you're
Yes, I
doing?
use some. Yeah, it's I started it on Facebook,
Right,
and Facebook is to uh, people imitate me and say they're me and try to get money from people because they're desperate for money.
right,
So they pretend they're me, and people sneak in, even though it was closed. People would sneak in. I use
right,
something called Mighty Network if you're interested,
right.
and it's very reasonable. And if you want to build a community, I think it's a good place to do it because it's not with one of those big guys that you never talk to anybody
Okay,
if something goes
give
wrong.
us once more the how do we get to it and what is it called?
Okay. The network is mightynetwork.com, but my service is lescohelp.com.
Okay,
But it's on Mighty Network. But
okay,
if you go right to lescohelp.com, you could get our help. But you
okay.
don't need, yeah. We just point you to where it is. People are a little afraid of calling the government, things like that. Actually, I almost did a book for the government for Canada like this. One of my first books was with Penguin Viking, which is also published in Canada.
Okay.
And my book was a New York Times bestseller here, and they wanted me to do the one for Canada. And I said, okay. Uh, and then they said, we better get a Canadian. They're
Okay.
afraid that a guy from the States, wouldn't make it happen. Yeah.
Well,
So,
there is no particular secret to it that government has lots of
exactly.
money that they
Right.
direct in places that most people don't know what they will do with
Exactly.
it. And the problem or the opportunity is the same in Canada as it
Right.
is in the States. I just want to come back to you are
Uh-huh.
unique in your communications, not only in the things that you say, but also in the way you dress. You
Mm-hmm.
are communicating an image of you that is, you make fun in a way of who you are, but you're talking about very serious topics if
Yeah.
required. But you can also have a sense of humor about things, and the combination of all the above and the message has made you successful. Am I correct?
Yes, it took a while. I mean, this is me inside. There's a couple things I think of when you say that. Uh, I always had this in my mind, never had the courage to bring it outside of me. And it took a while, not until my 50s, I think, that I start doing this. But to me, what's wonderful about it, this is me inside. I know people won't like it, but that's fine, because if you don't like this, I'm probably not going to like you either.
Yeah.
But if you like this, I know I'm going to like you, see, because this is real me.
Right.
And so it saves both of us a lot of time.
Right.
And also, me personally, what I see, I mean, I would miss it almost, because I walk down the street, people hug me, and not even if they know my work, but it just makes people smile.
Yeah.
And I get free upgrades on the airlines. I mean, just people treat me nice all over. I don't deserve it. They don't really know me.
No, but it
Yeah,
is. It's a form of communications
yeah, yeah,
because what you sending to them is something
yeah.
out of the ordinary, and it attracts them. It makes them
Right,
interested in saying, in most cases, and the ones that don't, you don't want to know them anyway, as you said already,
right,
is that, but they want to know more. Is saying,
right.
who is this guy, and
Mm,
and what is the message, and so that is reflected in your books and likely on talk shows like Oprah, Larry King, and all the other popular shows,
mm,
makes you attractive
mm.
for them because they are selling time for
Right.
all intents and purposes. And
Mhm.
so the other thing that I did is that, just come back a little bit. I was born November the 1st, 1940, in
40, I'm
East,
43.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah,
I'm 43, 1943.
yeah. So I was born November the 1st in 1940 in Holland. And as you
Oh,
already know, it was the beginning of the Second World War. And I remember still a lot about it from the time I was 3.5 years old. I remember hundreds of planes, bombers in the
wow.
air. And if you're familiar with Holland, I was born in the northeastern part of Holland, within 10 or 15 minutes from the German border. And my mom and dad were married in 1938. They were in love, and my dad had a job in a lumber company, and so in Holland at that point was beautiful, and the land was beautiful. They had two children very quickly, a boy and a girl, and then everything changed. Is that
Mm.
a dictator called Adolf Hitler decided that he wanted to take over part of uh, uh, Poland because that belonged in his mind to Germany, because some of the people there spoke German, and so he took it over.
Mm.
And once he did that, he pushed further eastward, and then the next thing, there was the danger of him taking over Western Europe, including Holland. And so my dad was drafted into the Dutch army in April of 1940. And
Oh,
the
wow.
last time they saw him or heard from him, he was caught in Rotterdam just before they bombed the downtown of Rotterdam, and thousands of people died. For 5 years, they wouldn't know if he lived or died. And so my mom, with two kids already and then pregnant with me, had to go through the rest of the war trying to survive. And things were very, very rough. But the first thing that I remember is hundreds of bombers in the air. And what we used to do at nights, my mom would take us out on a flat roof behind our house, and in the distance we could see Germany as
Oh,
the Allied forces were bombing the army infrastructure, where they built equipment for the war, and they were being bombed. Wilhelmshaven, Bremen, Hamburg, and all those cities bordering on the western side, northwestern side of Germany, touching on the North Sea, and we could see the sky being red in the distance. And the reason that she took us out, she felt safer outside than inside. And the next
Yeah.
thing that I remember is 1944. The Germans cut off all the food supply to Holland
Wow.
and Europe, and so I remember that. And as kids, every morning we would go with gunny sacks into the railroad yards and pick up anything edible and burnable. And so
Mm.
the reason that we did as kids, because they wouldn't shoot us, they boot us one, but we'd be back the following morning. And so,
Wow.
and then the next thing that I remember, and again for all of us watching, that in the summer of 1944 is the Allied forces, the United States, Canada, and a number of other companies landed in Normandy to push out and to free Europe from the dictator called Adolf Hitler. And so the Allied forces landed, and the Canadians, part of it, pushed through France, Belgium, into the western part of Holland, and then pushed the Germans all the way through the northern part of Holland into Germany. And so I remember that part, and we were liberated, and I was then 4.5, 5 years old. I remember saw far too much of the things we should not have seen. It was rough and tough, and then the Canadian Army liberated our town in northern Holland on April the 12th, 1945. So we are
Wow.
getting very, very close to the 80th year in which that happened. And so, and I remember that part. It made such an impression on me that I knew from that point forward, as I grew
Mm.
up, I would go to the land of my heroes, Canada. And I did that, and when
Mm.
I was 24, and then
Wow. Now, did
academically,
you ever? Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What?
yeah, academically, I was not a success story, and I
Uh-huh.
failed grade
Yeah.
3, and I failed grade 7 3 times. And then they said,
Right.
"What are we going to do with this kid?" So I was affected by PTSD and the NHL and a number of other
Uh-huh.
challenges. But a lot of people said my parents were beautiful, but a lot of people said send him to the mentally challenged school. And they
Wow.
said, no, we're not going to do that. So let's find him a job. So at 12.5 years old, my dad had a friend
Wow.
that had a furniture factory. He said, well, let's send him there. So at 12.5 years old, I became a laborer in a furniture
Ah,
factory. I loved it. But
yeah.
kids are hard on each other. So all the friends that I had at grade 7 that went to college and university kind of looked down on me because I was a laborer. As I said,
Yeah.
I'm proud of that today. So that's that's what happened, and then when I decided to go to Canada, I wanted to. I always knew I was just as smart as all the others. I was just different, but I didn't know
Right.
why. Who am I was always a question in my
Yeah.
mind, but I knew I would be able to succeed. I was always interested in entrepreneurship. I did some of that myself when I was young, and I watched entrepreneurs, successful people. I listened to their presentations, and wherever they were speaking, I would go there to listen to them. What made them successful? And
Mhm.
then I knew I wanted to go to Canada, and then I wanted to build my own lumber mill, and I knew I had to go to the West Coast, British Columbia. That's where
Yeah.
all the trees are. So I
Right.
did
Yeah.
that. I left Holland in July of 1965, and I was still 24 years old. I
Wow.
had one suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, very little money, flew into Montreal, took the train from Montreal to Vancouver, 4 days, 5 nights. My God, that is a long way. Anyway, when I came
Yeah.
to Vancouver, could speak the language, didn't know a soul, didn't have a job. Went to the immigration
Wow.
department. Fortunately, there was a German fellow working there, and I could speak a little bit of German. I told him what I wanted
Yeah.
to do. He said, go to Prince George. That's where I am now,
Oh,
60 years later,
right.
and I can still see the
Wow.
Greyhound station here, a couple of blocks away. And,
Yeah.
so that's where I landed. And then I had my suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes. I counted my money at least 3 times. And I had $25.47. But
That's great.
attitude, I was always positive, even in adversity. Passion, whatever I do, I give it 125%. Work ethic, I work harder. Even now, at nearly 85, I get up at 5:30 in the morning. I always make my bed, and I always think I'm late. And so, and obviously, yes, I did build a lumber mill and many other companies. So it's not
Wow.
about that, but I probably have 10 different companies, and and I've been successful. It took me, although I did not feel even then. Everybody said, "Oh, you're so successful." I didn't feel that way, and until I found a book that kind of opened the door for me in a way. And I have a copy of the book still here, and I will show it to you in a second, that changed my life. And I walked into a bookstore here, and I was already here for 32 years in Prince George. I
Wow.
already had numerous companies, but I did not feel that I had
Yeah.
been successful. I still had challenges
Yeah.
inside. So this book was called Driven to Distraction, written by
Ooh,
Dr.
sounds familiar.
Hollywell, medical
Uh-huh.
doctor, and as I picked up the book, this is the actual book I picked up. As I looked at the book
Uh,
and started
was it a new
reading
one?
it, I mean,
Was it a new book
yeah, it's a
when
notebook
you
in
bought
the bookstore. I picked it. I don't know why I
it?
picked it up. Man, of many books there, and I opened the book,
Right.
and it was about ADHD, and I said, "Oh my
Oh,
God,
reading?
that's me."
Yeah.
And
Ah,
so I wrote in the book. This is
uh,
the actual book that I picked
what,
up in 1997, written by Dr. Hollywell in
yeah.
1993. I bought it in 1997, and it changed my life. I wrote in it in Dutch. Now I finally know who I am,
Wow.
and it changed my
Uh,
life. And so the more I
that's
looked at it, and the more I started reading about it, one then to Google and found out more and more about it. By then, already at that point, I was, the 57 years old, and it took me
uh-huh.
5 years, even before I would go to my doc, that was a personal friend, had
Yeah.
delivered 2 of our daughters, and so I said, came into his office, and he said, "Hey, John, why are you here?" I said, "I think I got ADHD." And so we checked it out. Yes, I do. And then the more I
Mm,
found out about it, Matthew, I know it's a superpower. And so it
mm,
started changing my life at, as I said, 57. By then I was 62 years old. So when I was 12 and a half, I left grade 7 after failing 3 times. It took me 50 years to find out who am I. And so this is the book that changed my life.
wow.
From there on in, I started writing books, and I'm working on my sixth and seventh. The first one that I did is this one, Against All Odds. And
Oh,
then
wonderful.
I wrote also a book about ADHD Unlocked,
Oh,
and
cool.
a very important one, Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream, another very important one. And then the other one that I showed you already is
Right.
about living young, dying old. And then the other one
Yeah.
that I do is behind me. This one is coming out in June, $1 billion communication skills. It's a
I
very,
don't
very
see it.
important one.
Uh, huh.
So
Well,
it changed my
that's
life.
fascinating. I sort of believe I have a little ADHD. I don't know. I hated school too. And I think that's it. You just get bored, what the hell they're doing, and you don't want to participate. I was thrown out of school all the time, just for being
So
a smart ass,
yeah,
not
can
for
you
anything
believe
else.
that? And so was I. And so people say to me, I do a lot of presenting, so do you. You're a very effective communicator, obviously, in many ways. And I am too because of the hat I put on. I'm going to put my cap back on again now. So
I want to know what happened to your. How did you find your dad, or what? You said your dad was gone 5 years till you found him, or found out, or what?
until I got diagnosed. I knew
No,
when I
not you.
bought the book that I was ADHD. That
Yeah,
was
no. I'm talking about your father. You said for 5 years you didn't know
okay.
where happened.
So what happened with him? He was drafted into the Dutch army April 1940, and so when he
Right.
was called into the army, the last time that they saw him was downtown Rotterdam before
Mm,
Hitler bombed it,
I
because
see.
they didn't capitulate quick enough for Hitler. And so he was going to teach them a lesson. So
Right.
Rotterdam is a big, big city. So he
Right.
bombed the whole downtown. And so since that time, they would not hear from him again. So they didn't know if he lived or died. But he came back after the liberation of Holland, and he
Oh, he
had
did.
been underground and working against the resistance for the 5 years that we didn't know where he was. And he couldn't contact
Wow.
anybody because if
Right.
they ever
Exactly.
would catch him, they would shoot him
Right.
on the spot. So
Right.
that's what happened to him.
Yeah. I see. So then he joined the family afterwards.
Correct. But he was,
Yeah.
and that's the other part which I believe is so important, Matthew, especially the way things are today. Living in Canada and North America, I do a lot of business in the United States as well. I fly around a lot in business for business, although I'm also a pilot, but
Right.
in business commercially. And if I do, I always sit by the window and I look outside and I say, it's paradise. Paradise,
Yeah.
North America. And that means
Yeah.
Canada and the United
Right.
States, and their relationship is unique in
Right.
the world. And then for me, that was part of war. I know what it is, I know what it
Yeah.
means. And for those that believe that after the war is over, everything goes back to normal, no, it doesn't. It could take
Yeah.
generations, one, two, and beyond. And that's the point that I was making. Is my dad, when he came back, they were never the same again. He was affected by PTSD, and it
Right.
affected their life and relationship, and
Yeah.
stayed with them. He became an alcoholic,
I see.
and not one that all over the place, but
Right.
created a dependency on
Right.
hiding the things that he could not deal with. It never spoke about the war, but it affected the rest of our lives, and it still
Wow.
affects me today, seeing so much
Yeah.
about the war. And so that's why I look at people in North America in particular, and then saying how lucky we are, and then look at Europe, Eastern Europe in particular, the
Right.
Ukraine, and a number of other things there. Then look at the Middle East, look at South America, Venezuela, Cuba, and then look at China, look at Iran, how lucky we are. And then at the same time, what troubles me is, I don't want to talk about politics, but this thing that I'm hearing, the closest relationship that I remember is the United States, Canada, and other countries landing in Normandy to free Europe and bring it
Right.
back to where it was in prosperity. And in 1947, they established the Marshall Plan to infuse
Mhm.
money and to stimulate it and to become what it is today. And then I look at what is happening today, and it scares me. I
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
again things where dictatorships potentially lead to things where we collectively don't want to go, because if we did, then we would never be the same again for generations.
And also allies. I mean, we're getting rid of allies. To me, is just stupid.
It
Like,
is.
well, Yeah.
and it's delicate, but I tell
Yeah.
this story simply because I was there. I lived it. I'm still living it today. And although I was 5 years old when we were liberated, I saw far too much that we should not have seen. And a lot of times I look at my grandchildren, and they remember things from the time they were 3 and 4 and 5, and I did. It changed my life. And but what it also did is I appreciate, the land of my heroes. Canada to me is very, very special, and so is North
Yeah.
America. A lot of friends of
Yeah.
mine, I interact with the United States, and we, for one, are the closest friends and have been for the last 200 years, virtually, between Canada and the United States is precious.
Exactly. No, I work with a fellow in Vancouver now, very close. As a young man, just a delight. I always figured Canada was to me was a classy USA. Yeah, we're not classy enough.
Yeah. So the our politics is boring compared,
Yeah.
fortunately, compared to the United States. So I just want to come back to you, and so the I had to tell you that story. So to give you a bit
No,
of
it's wonderful. That's
background,
history.
yes,
I missed those 3 years.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Now, so what do you do now, Matthew? You are online mainly and still interacting on a fee for service basis?
Um, Trying to package and show people, what programs are out there to help them and how to get to them and what to do. I mean, every day new ones happen. Uh, and to me, my biggest nemesis is not the Riddler. It's Google, because people think they could get answers by going to Google, and if you don't have money, you don't get answers in Google. Uh, Google is Google is a place to spend money, and
Yeah,
so people don't have money, uh, which in our country, to me, 90% of the people have not seen a wage increase in like 50 years,
right.
and all our profits went to the top, and so everyone's hurting for money. So their wages actually went up about 30%, but inflation went up 300%. So they're all in deep trouble financially. And
Yeah.
uh,
All behind a
um,
paycheck, at least.
exactly, way behind. That's why, so they
Yeah.
go in debt more and more every day. Think it'll change. And so I try
It,
to show them programs not only get rid of the debt, but also to improve their life to earn more money, because there are
right.
government programs like that people don't know because they don't advertise, and you can't find them in Google.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is, right? To give that guidance and
yeah,
so and for all intents and purposes, Canada is the same. So I'm kind
yeah,
of looking at to me, is that communication's critically important. That's why I'm writing this book that's coming out in
yeah,
June, talking about communication skills, are
uh-huh,
of critical importance,
right,
and then to success. And then
yeah,
at the same time, the book looks at the well-known, the 6, 7, 8 recognized billionaires as to what did they do, how did they get there, and how did they become multi-billionaires. And then the other part likely is that a lot of people believe that if you can just become a multi-billionaire, you'll be the happiest person in the world. The opposite is correct.
right,
That what most of them will say, the most rewarding period of their lives were when they were struggling, going through all the ups and downs to get
mhm,
finally to stability, and then gradually build up. But that's where contentment and happiness in a lot of cases disappears.
no, I think, well, you're growing. See, through those things, through the difficult times of life. That's why I looking bad. The bad things that happened to me were the best because that's when I grew the most. You know? And so if things don't happen bad to you, you're not going to grow.
Exactly.
Um,
And that's why I wrote this book, Against All Odds. It's not about how
yeah,
successful John is, but just the opposite,
right,
going through all the ups and downs.
right, exactly.
So
Yeah.
the
And,
advice that
hey,
you would, yeah, sorry about that.
one of my favorite things is just plan for failure. Don't plan for success. Everybody says, "Oh, if I just do this, this, and this, I'm going to be a millionaire." You know, that's never going to happen. So
Exactly.
plan. What are you going to when it fails, man? Because you got to have plan B right away.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
then never give up, right? So
yeah,
the
absolutely. It's
attitude,
perseverance.
what for me is the foundation. It's attitude, passion, work ethic, what will
Right.
follow is success.
Absolutely.
And then age is that, and you at 81, being still
Uh-huh.
very, very active, me at 84 and a half, nearly, that I'm going to go to 120. But what keeps me uh, active is I'm lucky in terms of, but I'm being proactive in terms of diet, exercise,
Yeah.
and then, that's why I felt I wrote the book, Living Young,
Yeah.
Dying Old, and saying,
Yeah.
that's me. And
Yeah.
so I'm not saying that everybody should be there, but simply
Yeah.
what I say, be
Yeah.
aware of diet and
Right.
exercise, vitamin D, sunshine, sleep, and the combination of all those things is that it then becomes the most important part is quality of life. Being able to
Yeah.
get up and still have that energy like what you have at 81 and always have. You're a very effective communicator, obviously, but not only in delivering the message, but also without saying anything about it, you sending a message to people that in most cases they will like.
Yeah.
And I have the
Yeah.
same experience in a way. Now the other part, and I just want to mention it. We have so much to say still. We have to at some point do more of this. But I love about what has happened in the last 4 or 5 years, Matthew, is the internet and in particular podcasting. And I
Yes.
believe it's only on its infancy. And can you believe
Yes.
there you are in Washington, D.C.,
Absolutely.
and I'm sitting on the other side of the continent in central British
Right.
Columbia and Prince George, and we have a dialogue about a number of issues like this seamlessly. It feels like you're sitting right next to me here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's
Well, I
on,
think because you have an open heart too, so you're not programming. So many people are, and I hate to be programmed because I'm not alive. If I'm following a checklist
no,
and not experiencing the moment, and
exactly.
that's what the interview is. Yeah.
So the
When,
other part about podcasting, it's only on its beginning, and if you think about it, that and the same for you, you have a lot of people that are watching us. We already know that, and I'm not bragging about it, but we on YouTube alone have close to approaching 1 million subscribers. I think
wow,
we're close to 800,000 right now. And that
great.
means that around the world, we probably got between 1 and 2 million people watching our program. And that's
Wow.
only beginning. And I'm looking at the
Yeah.
same, starting a platform as well.
Hmm. Well, like I say, if you want something, that with interactive in a platform, you could test something on because I think you test very cheaply too. Just a couple dollars a month. Um, that Mighty Network I'd look into. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that, Matthew. We will stay in touch. And so
I'll be here.
tell us once more what your contact point is.
Uh, LescoHelp.com. Lesko, LESKOHELP.com.
Okay. And then
Okay.
for all
Well,
those,
I only got about 10, 12 years left, so but you got
no, you
30
don't.
years left, so
You got lots
really?
left. You know, you still have the energy, and
Oh, that'll be
I
fine.
will recognize you from a mile away, because if I go to Washington D.C., then in the distance I say, "Can you believe it? I see Matthew is walking on the other side of the street."
Well, you let me know if you're coming, okay?
I will. We'll stay in touch.
Okay.
And then for
Okay.
all those
Thank
people
you so much.
watching us, sign up to subscribe to us, share it with others, comment on it, like it if you like it, and if you have comments, then these are the shows that we are doing, both Matthew and myself. And again, Matthew, the hour is full. Thank you for being on my show. Let's make sure we stay in touch.
My pleasure. Wonderful to know you, John.
And
Take
I'm going
care.
to send you copies of my book, and I'm going to
Oh,
sign them for you.
I'm going to pick Living Young, Dying Old. That sounds good.
Yeah, and so you got the address, right? I have to
Yes.
quickly tell you one more thing, because
Uh,
in podcast number 203, you're at
203,
podcast number 394.
Oh,
Podcast
wow.
203 was with Dr. Hollywell.
Oh, that's heck. I
Can
know.
you believe it?
Wonderful.
And it's
Yeah.
still there on YouTube and all the other ones. Look at it, you will like it. And then the book is
Wonderful.
still available. And so I just wanted to quickly mention that too. Okay, Matthew, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Let's be in touch.
Nice.
Take care.
Yeah,
Love it.
we got
Bye-bye.
lots of life left.
Take care.